Welcome to the Truth of the Matter with Mary Ratliff and Pam Hardin. We're so happy that you took time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. And I'm so happy we've been waiting for a while to get this going, Pam.
Yes, I'm so excited. There are so many issues out there that we can talk about, and we're just excited that we're getting the opportunity to bring this podcast to you so that we can know and let you know what's going on with the truth in today's world of so much misinformation.
We want to make sure that you get the correct information into your community so that you will know how to act when things come to your community that you need to speak to.
Exactly.
And of course, we know that we've got a multitude of things that we've got to talk about in this period of time. And our most important issue now is saving our democracy. So that means that we have got to motivate people to get out and vote on November the 6th.
Okay. We've got to really get our younger generation.
Yes.
We know that right now that generation is kind of lost in the social media and the things that they're putting out that is fictional, but they don't know where to get that information. And so this podcast, we're going to make sure that they know that the truth of the matter is whatever we say, we will be able to back it up with some facts.
Absolutely. So we are going to be talking with you and working with you to make sure that we speak to those younger people and have them know the importance of us working together as a team. That we link the young people with the middle-aged and some more senior citizens of our community. It takes all of us. It takes the wisdom of the seniors, and it takes the energy of those other individuals to make sure that we get out there and get the information to the community that they need to have. In fact, today, I spend my time is that some people are doing early voting today, and I spend my time happily able to do that, sharing with them those individuals that we have looked at and that we thought would be best for us to look at during election time, even though we can't tell people who to vote for. When they ask us what we are doing, we can tell them what we are doing. And then they can make their decisions about how they want to move forward, because everybody do not know all of the candidates. Everybody's not able to go to the forums, etc. And so we need to make sure that we share with people. If you don't know those candidates, skip over them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that I think the problem is that a lot of people don't go and vote until it's time to vote for the president. And they don't realize the importance of the people that are running in these lower positions. I don't want to say lower, but when we're talking about people that are running in your communities for your school boards, locally. And then, once you start getting into that presidential, we have to think about people running for the House and the Senate. And so just voting for the president is not the most, it's important.
Very important.
But it is also important that individuals are educated on who they need to vote to put in those positions, because those laws are being made in the House and the Senate, and it has to get to the president's desk. So we need to make sure that we have people in the right places.
And so now now the court has made some decisions that we need to make sure that we really understand now the new powers that have been given the president. It is more important now than ever. The president's job now is more consequential for us now than it has ever been. So we need to make sure that we are out there voting for those people who will vote and work for our interests in our community. That is the most important thing right now. It can't be about a candidate. And in talking about it, I was thinking about Joe Biden and his unselfish act.
It was very unselfish. I don't know how many people realize.
Who would give up that power? The most powerful person in the world. Who would give up that power when you're holding the delegates that
was to help save our democracy.
To help save our democracy. And so we all need to work equally as hard in our particular places to see to it that we save, because there is our new administration, whomever they be, will determine whether or not we are going to look toward the future or whether we are going to look toward the past.
The past.
And
exactly.
so we cannot afford.
A lot of people don't know, as you were stating, the powers that have been given the president. The president has the power to basically be a dictator.
Absolutely.
And Biden has that power now as a president, but he's not going to use that power to his benefit because he's not a selfish person. But if we get a selfish person in that position, they will have the authority to be a dictator because of what's been handed down from our Supreme Court, which we know really needs to be revamped.
Absolutely, and that's something that we will certainly be talking about, and we'll need to be looking into it in the future of whomever, and hopefully we will get a president who will introduce legislation that will bring about a change in the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has dealt us a devastating blow.
Yes.
And we need to understand that. So we need to change that. We need some term limits.
We do.
You know, and we need to closely look at what needs to happen so that the Supreme Court will go by the Constitution
and not be bought. We've got some Supreme Court members that are being bought.
Absolutely.
By people that have money, and they're basing their judgments based upon the gifts that they're getting.
Absolutely.
And it's affecting all of us. And we need to know that it's not just affecting us, now it's going to affect our children.
Yeah.
What are we leaving for them to look forward to?
And the understanding that anything that can be bought can also be sold.
Exactly.
And people need to realize that those people that are sitting in those positions and allowing big money to determine how they interpret our Constitution.
Right.
They don't realize that they are putting themselves in jeopardy, and when they're in jeopardy, sometimes that big money can't save them.
Right. Well, and we know that the ones doing that are very selfish people. We know that they came up. One individual came up. He actually went through school and got a lot of help and a lot of aid. And then he wanted to take that aid away.
Shut the door.
You know, so I crawled up that ladder, and then he pulled it up
behind me
because he doesn't want anyone else to have the benefits that he himself utilized to get where he was. So we know that that a lot of the things that are done now with the Supreme Court are done on a very selfish, self-centered basis, and we just have got to have some reform. We've got to have some changes.
Absolutely.
And the people, have to be the ones to say that enough is enough, and that we're not going to stand for that by going out and casting our vote and making a difference. A lot of people think their votes don't matter,
and we have to get things acclimated to the point where people realize that all politics begins locally.
It does.
And then it blossoms out from that. And so, because the power starts to become, you begin to gain power once you get into positions.
Yeah, we're talking about mayors and city councilmen, aldermen,
absolutely,
people down that start out in your local communities and stuff. And so a lot of people just don't understand the importance of that. So what we're going to do with this show is we're going to enlighten you so that you will be able to understand the importance of that. We're also going to talk about things going on in the news right now. We're going to talk about, we've got some devastating things happening right now with Sonya Massey.
Yes.
Young lady, 36 years old, boiling water, called for help because she thought there was a prowler and ended up being shot.
More breaking news now. Disturbing body camera video shows the shooting death of Sonya Massey. The Springfield mother of two called police for help, but a sheriff's deputy shot her in her own home.
The deputy who pulled the trigger is charged with murder. Our Charlie DeMar is here with that shocking video. Charlie.
And Joe and Erica, good evening. President Joe Biden responded to the shooting, saying that Massey should still be here tonight. She called 911 to report a prowler near her home. And as you're about to see, the seemingly routine encounter quickly takes a deadly turn. And we do want to warn you that this video is hard to watch.
How would it hurt you? You called us.
Body camera video shows Sonya Massey opening the door for Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson and his partner earlier this month.
What took you so long to answer the door?
Oh, I was trying to put on some clothes, sir.
You doing all right mentally?
Yes.
Sure?
My medicine and stuff.
All right.
Once inside her Springfield home, Deputy Grayson asked Massey to check on the stove.
We don't need a fire while we're here.
The situation quickly escalates.
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
But not, I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your fucking face.
Massey begins to set down the pot and then can be heard apologizing. Grayson fired 3 times, hitting Massey in the face.
I mean, you know, what else do we do? I'm not taking hot boiling water to the face.
What made him kill my daughter?
James Wilburn is Massey's father.
A person like that, because of his white privilege, allows him to think he can do something like that and get away with it.
Craig Futterman, founder of the Civil Rights and Police Accountability Project at UChicago, reviewed the body camera video.
Well, first I saw a woman who was clearly a little bit out of sorts, but didn't look and didn't get off in appearance to any reasonable person that she posed a threat of harm.
Grayson is now charged with murder as the Massey family looks for justice and begins to heal.
I think the last words that my daughter said to me was, "Daddy, I love you. I won't see her again. I can't talk to her again. I can't touch her again."
And documents reveal that Deputy Massey has worked for 6 different agencies since 2020. So obviously that video very hard to watch, but the Illinois State Police moving very quickly, bringing charges last week, and again laying out the video today.
Charlie, thanks.
And killed. After making a statement, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Shot and killed.
And then the compassion, if you've seen the video, there was none for that individual. And so we have to watch and see where that case goes.
Yeah.
That's just one incident.
Absolutely.
There's many, many more, but we will be following that, looking at that, and then, you know, we also want to do some things to enlighten you on things going on in the community that will be fun.
Yes.
Things that be beneficial for you to maybe take your kids to, or, you know, some religious programs that are going on. I know that here in Columbia, Second Missionary Baptist Church has a church anniversary, 158 years.
Yes.
And so this week. And so that is such an accomplishment for a church that was built by former slaves.
Absolutely.
And it's still standing and still
viable in the community.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all those kind of things. So we just want to have a show that we can inform you, we can have fun with, but we can make sure that, especially as African Americans, that we are not being led in the wrong direction.
Absolutely, and that is so important because we, you know, and one of the things that we're going to be doing and that you know, we'll share with you later on in the year, we're going to be looking at the Willie Lynch's letter and speech. We're going to be looking at that. So, but we are going to be later in the fall when we do that. And we will make sure we keep you informed because we want you to be there and hear what we've got to say. Because it's important now that we take on more responsibility for ourselves, for our lives, and what happened in our communities and in our lives. And we have to make sure that the resources that come into the community, that the resources we get our share of the resources so that we can produce entrepreneurs and we can make sure our kids get to school, you know, get educated, whether or not it is a trade or a college. But we got to make sure that they become a part of the community, that where they don't feel that where they're not just barely living and barely making it, so that they can live comfortably and have a comfortable retirement, etc. So that we need to provide that for, and one of the main things that needs to happen, and I believe that we're working very, very diligently to make sure it happened is that we partner with, we are not just African American community. We are part of the whole community, and then we partner with other people who have like-minded feelings about our community and what should happen with our community and with our world. So we are reaching out to, we are partnering with Women League of Voters and the When She Votes and all of those women group, and we are going to, and I shared with the men that we're going to do that same thing that we did for When She Votes, that we are going to bring the same kind of energy to a program that I've developed, and I've talked to some of the men about it already, that they're going to head up. I'm just going to get them together. And it's going to be called Men of Courage. So we're going to be looking out for that, because they are excited about that, and we're going to make that happen, where the men come together and do their own election of their chairpersons, their leaders, etc., and that we want to be there to help, help steer them on, to help support them in the background, but to have them take the lead. And because we want to make sure that our men are very important in our community, and a family to be able to strive, really strive, needs to have a man and a woman in the house, a family that's taking care of their children, and that's so important. And that's what has caused so much poverty in our community. Is that mother or trying to take care of her children. Well,
it's a lot of brokenness, and we know that a lot of that brokenness is because a lot of our African American men are incarcerated.
Yes.
We've got a lot of children growing up without a father because the father is incarcerated. We've got to work on that. We've got to make sure that when those individuals get out, there's jobs available for them. They've paid their dues.
Yes.
So they need the opportunity to be able to be citizens without having to struggle to look for jobs.
Yeah, because the prison is supposed to be to rehabilitate. And once you've been rehabilitated back into society, you have to give them some reason,
right?
To want to be a part of society as it ought to be. And
right.
So when we put them in and bring them out and say, oh, you're a felon, you can't have this job or that job, or and even if they've got the abilities, even if they've been good prisoners, to do everything that they were supposed to do in prison, they still come out with that stigma. And so we need to work toward that. I know that there's some of the groups that are working toward that. Now what we're doing is getting lists of those individuals that are accepting felons, and I sit here and think about the fact that some of the felons that get out can't vote. We need to change that. Yes. Okay, that should be one of the conditions for being probation, is that that people will be offered the opportunity to register and to vote. So many of our people that they have gotten out and they are off probation papers, they still don't know that they have the opportunity to vote, because that's not something that the prison tells them, nor their probation officer.
They feel like when they go in, that's one of the major problems, or one of the major complaints is that they don't feel like they have a voice.
Right.
And then when they get out, you tell them, and by the way, you don't have a voice
because you can't vote.
So we're telling them to come out, be productive citizens, but you don't have a say-so in whatever life you lead, in whatever society you choose to live in. And so, yes, that has got to change. We've got to make. And then when you look at the number of African American males that are in prison and that get out, you can see the brokenness in our communities. And so we need to make a path for them to come out and be productive citizens and feel like they're a part of the community that they are in. And they can do that, or start that with allowing them to vote. And we've seen people, the change that has happened when they get out and they're given that opportunity. We've seen the change in individuals, and so we know that it's possible. We also know that it also is a job for these individuals to go in and out, in and out, in and out. And so sometimes we have to look at, is this designed for these individuals to go in and out because of those jobs?
Absolutely.
And so we'll look into all that. But basically, with our show, we want to make sure that we inform.
That's it.
And that you're aware of, and then you can go out such as with the Willie Lynch. We encourage you, even before we do that, to go out, read the Willie Lynch letters.
Yes,
that's
you can
something
pull it up on
read.
your computer,
Read
on
yourself.
your phone, iPhone, or what have you. And let me share with you with this show, we are going to be very informative because we're going to ask people to come join us.
Yes.
Expert people that are particularly working with different entities of our community to come in and talk to us so you will be informed of the things that are going on. Because many times, for instance, I was thinking about, we had our Canada's Forum on Tuesday night. It used to be, we didn't have to worry about it. KOMU would be there, KBIA would be there, Columbia Tribune would be there, the Missourian would be there. There was none of the news media there to cover the NAACP. We had a good turnout, a very good turnout. Because I got a count of them by name. So we had a very good turnout for our candidate night that was able to hear from the candidates. And the news media was not there to cover it at all. However, the night before, they were able to record that Race Matters had a candidates forum and only had 3 citizens.
That's the news that they like to put out.
That's the news that they want to put out there. But here we had a room full of individuals asking multiple questions of the candidates, and we had not one. And I haven't looked at the paper because I'm sure there's nothing in there, because there was no reporter there to cover it at all.
Well, we know that that's a problem, that whenever things are done in the African American community, that
if a shooting, they'll be there.
To enhance or something good, something to promote and uplift in the Black communities. We do not get the covers, but yes, if there was a shooting, if there was a fight, if there was even cross words spoken, that will be in the newspapers, and that's not just here in this town, that's all across the country.
That's right.
We know that the coverage, when we look on the news, we don't see the good things that are going on in the community. We only see the negative things.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we've got to we've got to change that, because actually I'm going to write to stations myself and complain about it. So we know that the news media it was because of the news media that we were able to part of the news media, we were able to change things when the civil rights movement was in its full flare in the 60s, etc. It was the news media that was able to bring this condition to the entire country to see. And now they try to suppress it.
Right.
They want to say, that's why they want to take the books out of school, giving real history of what happened, just to describe how we got where we are today.
Right. Well, they base that upon feelings, because one of the things that they say with that is they do not want white children to feel bad about themselves or think ill of themselves, but yet you don't mind our children feeling ill or thinking bad about themselves because you don't want to put any books in the school system that would help us to uplift and tell the truth about our history so that we can be proud of where we came from and where we are. You want to sugarcoat it so that our children don't feel, so there's still some bias.
And the thing about it is that people that are really versed, the white individuals that really want to help, they will admit, and I don't say gladly admit, but they will admit that they know that they have white privilege that have allowed them to rise above some of the problems that we have in our particular community, and they will admit that.
Right.
That they have white privilege.
Well,
so we've got to be able to tell that story, and not only to tell that story, but to let the powers to be know is that is unacceptable to us, and that we are not going to just sit there and allow our history to be swept under the rug because they feel we're making somebody uncomfortable. Well, we want to make somebody uncomfortable. They need to be uncomfortable to know that this went on. And when they start looking at what we are doing, what we are doing or not doing, what we are accomplishing, what our community is accomplishing or not accomplishing, those individuals coming along will understand that it is was not necessarily because of the lack of the will of the African American people to move ahead. It was the white privileges that prevented them from getting ahead.
They're quick to talk about the Holocaust.
Yes.
They're not sweeping that under the rug, but they do not want us as African Americans to know our history, and they do not want to talk about the white privilege. I remember we talked to a state representative, and we were talking about student loans, and he was talking about how his grandparents had set up a fund for him to go to college. So when he got older and graduated and was off to college, he went off to college. And then there's African Americans that went off to college. They have to have student loans. When he graduated, he graduated and he didn't have any loans or anything. The African American graduated and they had $50, $100, $100,000 worth of loans. Then when he went out and he wanted to purchase a home, he didn't have that on his,
right.
You know, when they went out and wanted to purchase a home, they had $150,000 they already owed.
Right.
They didn't have to even be in default. They could be making the payments, but you owe that much. So even if I give you a home loan, I'm going to give you a $50,000 home loan, and I'm going to give him $100,000 because he doesn't have all that debt. So once again, the privilege and sometimes white people don't understand or want to admit that privilege is there, and that gives them a jump start. So they say, well, we started at the same. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. We went to the same schools. We did the same classes during the same hours. Went to bed at night the same time, got up at night. We might even have competed in the same sports while we were in there. But when we got out of school, you got out debt free. I got out with a debt. I started out back here. You started out up here, even though all of this was the same.
And even if you start us off with this is what I shared with individuals. Even if you start us off at the, because that's some of the things that in the work that I do, that people talked about. The fact is that, well, they're getting the same pay I'm getting. That still does not put us on equal footing, because grandma and grandpa, and I asked the students, because I used to, when Dr. Watson was living at the University of Missouri, I spoke to his political action class every year. And when I was discussing with some of the individuals, about the equality of things, and I was saying to them is that, how many of you in here have inherited anything? And only about 1 or 2 hands went up, and I go, you've never inherited anything? And they say, no. And I said, well, did your mama and your daddy inherit anything? And they said, well, yeah, when my grandparents died, they left them. And now when your dad and mama die, they're gonna leave you. So you're already in better shape than African Americans. When right now, I see it all the time. When black folks die, they are left out of the ground. They're not buried sometimes for a week and a half or 2, and that's because they don't have the funding to bury themselves. And because you're talking about $10,000 and up, and they have not been able to say that, and some people complain about that, and and I encourage people, even if you have to get a little bit to get some kind of insurance when you're very young, so that your insurance premiums are not so high when you get older. So that you don't want to leave that kind of burden on your family. But some people just can't. They're just living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're feeding their families and paying their light bills
And
their
that's
water
what we
bill.
want to do. Is we want to help to inform individuals that
take out a little insurance.
It's very important to take out insurance, whether it be a little or what have you, a lot, because you never know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And for parents and grandparents, it doesn't hurt. Take out a policy for your grandchildren when it's $2 or $3 when they're smaller as babies, so that they can continue to have that amount. But it's very important that we plan. That's one thing as African Americans we do not do, is we do not plan. And I don't think there's anything worse than to see an individual who has a loved one that they cannot bury, because they did not think of the cost of burial and how much and how high it is nowadays. And so we do encourage everyone to look into getting a policy, and we have to plan for that. No, we know as African Americans, we do not want to talk about people living and dying, because we start thinking, oh, they're thinking that we're trying to get in their pockets or whatever. But we have to plan. We have to be ahead of the game, and we have to plan for those things, because it's going to happen, and we know it's going to happen, and we need to be prepared. And so we encourage individuals to please go out and look into some policies and do what you can while you can to make life easier for the loved ones that you leave behind. Because I know nobody wants to leave their family members in a situation to where they're mourning, and then they have to think about, how am I going to bury this individual? So we want to keep you informed on things, put things in your mind that'll make you stop and think, and take into action.
And I want to say to our followers out there is that we hope that we want to bring you some serious issues, and we want to bring you some fun issues. And if you've got some information or something that you would like to talk to us about, I hope that you will share that with us, and let us know what you think about this program as we move on, because what we want to do is be informative, to make sure that you are informed as well as you can be.
And the truth of the matter is,